Okay, so what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today, Oscar?
Yeah, today morning we're talking about Kanye West. I haven't listened to the podcast yet. Just the opening, just the intro. That's it. And had the thing.
I watched
The
a few. I watched a few snippets. I watched. There's a clip about the Star Wars Revelation on Joe Rogan's channel
What's that?
where he talks about. Actually, I need to watch it again because Kanye has a very interesting way of thinking. You know, it wasn't like a crazy idea or anything like that. Okay, maybe it was a little bit crazy, but like, yeah, he has an interesting way of thinking. And I think the problems he runs into a lot of the times is when he doesn't have the time to articulate himself, or rather when he hasn't thought his idea like completely through, and then his abrasiveness due to his personality just leads him down, leads him to bad times, bad situations. So
that's all human. That's all human beings, right? I mean, we all talk about things we don't really understand. We all speak of things whereby the only real understanding we have of the notion is small snippets we speak here and there. Our opinion plus our added experience concerning such a similar matter. So of course,
you're not wrong.
The only difference between us and Kanye is that Kanye has a bigger platform where his opinions are heard and yours are not heard. So he's more likely to make those mistakes that you and I wouldn't. Not mistakes. He's more likely to come into contact with such failure that you and I would never be able to come into contact with, because no one is, is analyzing each of our words the way they analyze Kanye's words.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true. But also, no, you're definitely right, and that's why they hold greater responsibility. It comes with the platform, so they have to learn to be able to articulate themselves to a certain level, and they know, like, he's not like he was a celebrity like for like a year or something. He's been a celebrity for a very long time, and when you've been a celebrity for a very long time, you know that people are always listening to what you're saying, and people are always looking up to you for better or worse, right? There's good and bad that comes with it, obviously. So him knowing all that, it's just like, you'd expect him to be able to like be a little bit more responsible. That's just it, but then again, like you said, he's a human being, so we should just forgive him sometimes.
But also, what does a responsibility mean? You ask yourself this. Maybe for you have an idea of what the responsible thing to do is, right? And that is Jason's idea of what responsibility means. And maybe Oscar's idea of what being responsible means is totally different from yours. So if I fall into my idea of responsibility, it might clash with yours, whereby me doing what I think is responsible might seem irresponsible to you. Like, think someone like who's doing BMX or like X Games, motocross, such things, or even skateboarding. It's a sport where you're risking your health every single day you're doing it, right? Now, for someone who's very health conscious and is very worried about the idea of dying, doing those sports seems extremely irresponsible, whether or not you're making money. But to the person who's doing the sport, he's being responsible to the desire to perform in this field, the desire to become better at this craft. Yeah.
You're right in the sense that it depends on where your standpoint, for sure. Like in Kanye's case, what got him into a lot of trouble is that for the longest time, black people held him up as this symbol, right? Like as this person who he's one of the black people. He's like he's looking out for that minority group, and he rose up from nothing.
Yeah.
Just a zero to hero type story, right? And he made it all off of his own like skill and talent, and that story was powerful and resonated with a lot of people. And when he went out and he started saying like, hey, Bush doesn't care about black people, people respected him more, because it's like, hey, this is more than just a guy who's like risen up from nothing, right? He's a guy who's going to stand for us. So, and you can argue that in like African Americans don't have enough icons or heroes that are like that. So him being in that certain position, given that context, it's like people would argue that he should be more responsible because him being the very few people that you can look up to who's also African American, and he's in that position of power and being able to influence all these people, he should take or say what he wants to say very carefully. Yeah. I'm not actually saying that it's morally right or wrong. I'm just saying there's an argument to be made there. And I'm like, honestly, there's a weird like balance between like, hey, you should let the artist do what he wants to do, right? Freedom of speech, right? Most artists anyway, when they're rising up, no one gives a fuck about what they say and what they think. And in the beginning, they can do whatever they want, right? And say whatever they want. It's only after they become famous then everyone starts looking back and going like, what this person was saying was fucked up. What this person was saying is like for example, I'll be more specific. Like with Nicki Minaj, when she was like starting off, everyone was like, yeah, fuck yeah, a female rapper who can maybe go toe to toe with like the industry giants or titans like Drake, Lil Wayne is what everyone was thinking at the time, right? And then she makes like one of the controversies where she was really like criticized, or there was a lot of like social heat on her, was when she made Anaconda. Because then she was like, hey, Nicki, a large portion of your fan base is like these teenage girls, and when they see this Anaconda video, what the fuck do you think they're gonna think, right? You're not helping that social image, right? You're giving off of that negative social an image that would create negative social behaviors.
We can see that, but then
so like again, that someone would say like, hey, Nicki's being irresponsible with that platform.
I can see that, but then also you want Nicki as an individual to be responsible, but you don't want her audience to be responsible as individuals, whereby we assume Nicki has the power to say, I'd rather not make this song, even though it seems like an interesting project to take. Let me not take part in this project, because I think my audience, they'll obviously be impressed in a negative way. So why is the artist held with such high standards, whether it's moralistically, intellectually? Why? And the individual like artists, that is the part of the audience artist, part of the artist audience, seems to have no capability to think for themselves.
That is true. That actually, that is, it's a fallacy that has not just only been applied to artists, but has been applied to like a lot of media in general. There's a lot of media. Let me be more specific again. Like, gangster rap made me shoot my kids, or made me shoot my parents, or made me do a drive-by here, right? Violent movies create school shooters, Violent video games creates this. There's that element of like, hey, you're removing the responsibility from the people who are actually like.
But if you think about it, yes, we use the word responsibility, but everything you do is based off of something you've learned or experienced, or you think about, and where do your thoughts come from, even from what you see, read, hear, and experience.
Okay.
Now that being said, the same goes for the artist. Anaconda didn't come out of the ether, man. It didn't come out of the ether. Like, Nicki Minaj had to have experienced all this thing, had this song, seen the big asses. She has a big ass phone. She can see how women are looking at her. She's been fucked by guys. So that song didn't come out of the ether. For her to sing this song, it's a reality all around already. Before all this words and thoughts and ideas and experience are compounded into a song, it's already alive in the world. It's living the world already, right? And you can see it.
Yeah.
In music videos before Nicki Minaj. In the way you bend over a girl when you're fucking her, you're seeing the anaconda. Your dick is the anaconda,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the reality is there. So of course, I think
art influences the world influences art.
Exactly. Yeah. But not only that, it goes further to the point where I believe that the word responsibility is also kind of a lie. It's also kind of a lie, because how are you responsible for the things that impress upon you? You can't run away from experience, right?
I think the idea is that you're not being responsible for that, but you're being responsible for like how your thoughts and ideas influence other people.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically when you have such a wide social net, and you have like this pathway to all of these minds and these minds across the entire world, right? Your art or your ideas or your mind, whatever you're doing, right? It cuts across so many countries, so many cultures and languages. It's like that's some of these artists' platform, right? It's really up there. And I think the argument is made strongest when it involves kids or young minds, because that's when young minds are malleable, right?
But then
they don't have
who's the
they
audience?
don't have the they have the capacity to think for themselves, definitely, but they don't have the moral or the value systems to like adequately weigh their moral decisions.
Man, but here's the thing. The reason why we like artists is because they are there, right? You like Lil Wayne because his raps are crazy. You know? You might like Picasso because he's
so you're arguing for the artists that side, that hey, the artist should
No.
be able to do whatever they want.
I'm seeing right and wrong on both sides. Let me say that.
Okay.
But so each point I'm making is moving back and forth. I'm not sticking to one side. So, but in this particular argument, I'm saying like we like the artist's work because the artist seems to be able to freely express themselves in a way that most people might want to, but they're shy to do or they're fearful to do. Right? You lost your bottle.
Right. Yeah.
However, if you tell the artist not to be themselves because you might impress young people in the wrong way, then why do we need any artist around? We can just have like a ministry of art that makes the art that is just good for young minds, right? Why do we need Drake? Why do we need Lil Wayne?
And we do have channels like that. We have TV channels and programs and YouTube channels. And
we
all
do.
that.
Now I'm saying now in this world, whereby we're always thinking about what the impressions of the young minds, we wouldn't be having Drake. We wouldn't be having Lil Wayne. We wouldn't be having Nicki Minaj, right? Because who are their audience? It's not 30-year-old women and women who are the biggest fans of Lil Wayne and Nicki Minaj. It's kids. And like as an adult, you might listen to the art song and you're like, okay, it sounds catchy, but I don't need to listen to it all the time. But as a kid, you might just want to listen to songs because your friends also listen to the same songs.
Obviously.
Yeah. But you as an adult,
you want to listen to the hottest shit on the block.
Exactly. Man. But as an adult,
that alone actually gives you social status.
As an adult, you really don't care. There's some songs you might have in your phone that none of your other friends know about. I've ever heard. Yeah. But as a kid, very few kids are like that. Very few, especially in small adult, always just like top 40 hits. Every other song is a club bang, you know. Yeah, and they're being played, the same song being played over and over and over. You remember being in Kenya? Listen to XFM. And XFM used to play the same.
They used to play the same songs over
it's like
and over.
It's like that CD where just a playlist. They just play the CD over and over again.
And then the DJs, they used to become on. Oh, this DJ is doing this mix, this mix.
It's
all
the same
song.
Same song.
It's all the same shit.
Yeah. It was funny.
But just to clarify, we're talking about like XM from early 2000s, like 2000s, late 2010s.
I mean, I say until 2015. That's when I was there. I still remember how, like, even that's the first thing Yumiko told me when she was there. Like, Oscar, why do they always play the same songs? Even to this day, ask Yumiko about
it's all about the hits. It's all about the hits. Whatever gives you the most listens, man.
But also, I think Yumiko makes it a statement because in Japan, Yumiko isn't usually in a car and she doesn't listen to music. Do you mean to radio? Japanese people don't really listen to radio.
Yeah, that's a Japanese radio. That's interesting. I've only seen like one person.
I've only had the radio when I was in Yumiko's mother's car.
I only had a radio when I was passing by, like literally going to like one of the classrooms, and I saw an old man on his like porch with a radio, just sitting there listening.
So maybe if you did listen to like, I mean, just normal radio in a car in Japan, maybe they also repeat the music. But someone who's Yumiko's age, who grew up in Osaka City, she spent most of her life in the train, using the train. So she wasn't looking for XFM on the radio, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why she can't
I know
imagine.
for a fact the kids in Japan using apps and
Yeah.
blogs, and they have podcasts for that, and YouTube channels and TikTok. They're not using like actual traditional radio.
This juice is so good.
Oh my
I've
god!
never had it before.
You never had it?
No.
It's a nice orange blend full of vitamins and
all
the good shit. Yeah, all the good shit. Okay. The sugar there is like, it's not actual sugar. It's like, it's an artificial sweetener.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's a good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
So like, I think honestly, like it's an ecosystem. The artists are affecting their environments and the people, the listeners, and the listeners are also affecting the artists, right? And the environment is affecting the artist. If society deems this artist isn't worth listening to, it becomes irrelevant, right? And with that in mind, it's like, hey, I think artists should just be able to do whatever the hell they want, because they're gonna, it's one of those things where it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I feel like one way or another, they're gonna get punished for this. Like, hey, if you create censored music or you try censoring yourself, everyone's gonna be like, you got soft, you're not speaking your mind. But if you speak your mind and the things that people hear are the things they don't want to hear, then it's like, fuck this guy, because he's talking all this negative shit. So it's like, either way, I seem like artists are always going to be crucified. It's like, why don't you just do
it anyway?
Yeah, just just take the choice you would like least regret, right? As an artist, and just do your own thing. And most artists, how long are their careers really?
I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the genre, definitely. But
some
it's like,
some have been there for ages.
Yeah, some of them. But those are like the big guys. Those are like the titans of their genre.
I mean, but also here's the thing. We are looking at the guys who are known, right? The other artists who just perform like in bars and clubs,
and they have a living.
Yeah,
they have a living.
They've done it for decades. We just don't know about them, right? Because we're not living in their city or their area, right?
Yeah. I guess this was specifically about like the big people.
Yeah, but even the big, like.
But I think we can say for a fact, none of it lasts forever, right? How many people have gone past a decade when it comes to like the big titans? You can say maybe Eminem, Jay-Z, Kanye.
Who hasn't? 50 Cent is still there. Everyone is still there.
There's quite a few people who have died. There's like a lot of artists like from the 90s.
That's death.
90s. No, I'm not talking about actual death, you fool. No, I'm talking about from the 90s to 2000s.
Like who?
2000s. But you understand there's like a huge paradigm shift of music. Right?
I mean, there is, but like
the whole 90s thing is this is artists who failed to transition. Those are artists who are now irrelevant.
Yeah, I just don't know them. Maybe I just never heard about them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to get out my phone just to look through like all of the 90s artists, but the point is just like okay, we'll take Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
They still make music, right? They still
perform,
even if it's like legacy type tours and stuff like that. But it's like, are we comparing them to Taylor Swift or Billie Eilish? No, you can't. Those are like,
I mean, okay,
those are the artists of this generation, and like Backstreet Boys.
They're also new, They're also new, and something is new. We're just more excited about it.
But Eminem is not new, but everyone's excited for it. So that's my point. I'm like, they failed to make the transition.
Here's the thing. People who are not your age, I don't think young kids are as excited about Eminem as you are, as people your age might be.
I doubt it, man.
No,
I feel like
so.
Eminem is the one person who like people are still really excited to hear. His albums are all still doing
think
really
about
well.
The thing you're doing, that's the same thing your father will tell you about a song that his guys liked, and you're like, people like this kind of music, what the fuck?
So when you look at Spotify, a lot of young people use Spotify.
Yeah, true.
Eminem is on a lot of the hip hop playlists.
Okay, let's just
open Spotify.
Not even open. You can just look at like Spotify top played artists. Spotify.
Can you search by genres? You can search by genres, right?
Yeah. Top 100 artists. Is this? Okay, this is just top 100 artists, not genre. Okay, let's do the top 10. I can't go through the whole list. 2080, 2020. Okay, actually, just giving it by month, okay.
Cool.
So January, Ed Sheeran. February, March, Justin Bieber. April, The Weeknd. May, Drake. June to October, The Weeknd.
No, but you haven't given me a list. You've given me like who's the top in that month.
Yeah, this is just what I'm getting here. Let me check one more time. Okay. No, it's giving the same thing. Okay, go on.
Oh no, because so some of the Eminem has had some pop-up songs, like in the last 2-3 months. Godzilla. There's Godzilla.
No, I've never even heard that song. I've never even heard it.
Dude, it's literally gone over like. How many views does it have right now on YouTube? It's like that thing. I'm raising on my phone to record. I can't look. But the point is that that's popped off.
Okay, so this is the list. Number 1, The Weeknd. Number 2, Drake. Number 3, Ariana Grande. Number 4, Dua Lipa. Do you even know who that is? I don't know who that is.
No, Dua
Lipa. I don't know who that is. I've never heard that before.
Oh, I've heard a song.
Next, number 5, Justin Bieber. Number 6, Ed Sheeran. Number 7, J Balvin. I don't know who that is again.
Is this based on listens?
Yes, this is listens. Only from last week actually. Number 8, Lady Gaga. Number 9, Marshmello. I don't know who that is. Number 10, Halsey. I know who that is. Number 11, Khalid. I've heard him, never heard his music.
Khalid, okay.
12, Travis Scott. Post Malone. Jason Derulo. I didn't know he was still that big. Nicki Minaj. The Baby. Juice WRLD. Maroon 5. Ozuna. I don't know who that is. Harry Styles. That's top 20. Billie Eilish actually 21. Yeah, from last week. Yeah.
This is a bit hard because now that's just listens.
Now, okay, so now, okay, if you're an
let's use another platform too.
That's unfair because it's like, okay, if Spotify is the biggest music listening app, and when people don't listen to your music, what does that say about your art and the audience? That means people aren't listening, right? They're not listening. Of course, I'm not saying like. Here's the thing: whatever you and I might think about Eminem, kids these days would rather listen to Lil Uzi Vert than Eminem. People our age might still want to listen.
Okay, now you're right about that.
Yeah. He won't be. He's gonna go like everyone else, man. Not because it's shit, but because music changes, man. Music changes.
No, but he's still relevant today. He's one of the few artists who, honestly. You're right. It might just be the old hip hop heads who are still listening to.
Yeah, exactly.
Eminem.
Yeah. And the thing is, even people like Beyonce, even people like Jay-Z. The truth is,
no, Jay-Z is not popular with like young kids.
Yeah, he's not. Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah. So here's the thing: like you and I might really be into that world, and it's like.
I was making a specific case for Eminem because Eminem has always had this. He's always had the ability to cut through a lot of different backgrounds. People like listeners. His listeners are cut from a lot of different backgrounds. Black, white, like everyone everywhere was listening to Eminem. So
but that's not really good. All artists have that, man. All artists have that. I mean, South Korean artists have Black American fans
in hip hop though. It's like
that's not
in hip hop. There's crossover power, right? Where it's like, hey, so you have the what do you call it? You have can you get the mainstream people? Can you get the ladies? Because Drake has the ladies, for example, but he doesn't have the mainstream. And he has the mainstream, right? But he doesn't have like the legacy hip hop heads. He doesn't have like the clout or that reputation or like this acknowledgement from people who consider hip hop like the movement. You know, the people who still like but like believe in hip hop as a like. How would I put this? The underground hip hop, they still believe in that idea. So like Drake doesn't have those people, for example. But Eminem had almost all groups on lockdown. You know.
Did he have women? Did he have kids?
He had women.
Oh, really?
He had women.
How? Why?
I think he had women. I don't think there's anyone who he didn't capture. Honestly,
sure?
This is like I'm talking about like 90s and 2000s.
How would you look at that? I don't think why would men have women? It doesn't make any sense.
Because
you can understand with Drake, he's singing also,
So Eminem is the only artist to have like how many he has the world record for #1 albums in a row. Just look at that. Who has the world record for that?
But what that thing for?
So like I guess this applies to America specifically, right? There's a lot of artists that only African Americans.
Eminem is #1. And then obviously #2. The Beatles, then
Jay-Z. So he like, man, I need to really think about this. Okay, so he has this is a lot of like artists in America, right? Where it's like, hey, you're a hip hop artist, but you only get love from a specific community.
Makes sense.
And it's like, that's how a lot of artists grow, right? When they start out, it's like they're getting love from a specific community, and then it's like, hey, as they get more and more recognized, they get like slowly etched up into the mainstream.
Yeah.
Right? And as they get etched up into the mainstream, they have now. That's when you're in the mainstream. That's when you get that crossover power. It's like, hey, you can cross over into like, you can cross over and get like love from other communities or other groups in America. I am definitely not explaining this in the best way possible, but I'm hoping you understand anyway.
Yeah.
Eminem was one of the few artists, especially him being white, right? So white America definitely loves fucking with that. And then for the longest time, at least in the beginning, he got so much hate on him because he was white in a predominantly black art form, and people were refusing to acknowledge him until at some point they had to acknowledge him because of his talent. So yeah, that's why I thought Eminem would be the exception. Honestly, he still is. Him still being here still insane. Like 50 Cent, like you're saying, how many artists are still like really there from his time? Like Jay-Z, yeah, he's there, but he doesn't have the same like notoriety by everyone.
For most time you're talking about.
So from 90s, let's just say from 90s, yeah.
Wait, is 50 Cent? He's not early 2000s because
he's early 2000s, but he's not an artist anymore. He's a producer. He's doing his own projects, right?
Okay. So him just evolved something else.
Yeah, he's no 50 is like a proper businessman. He's an entrepreneur at this point. Like he is invested into like so many other like ventures, and like he's in film and he's doing his TV show and stuff like that. So, and he owns juices and sodas. He has like a soda company, or he has a stake in a soda company, something like that. I'm not really sure. Need to look into that one. But point is, I would actually like that's what happens to a lot of artists, at least the smart ones, right? They grow big, they reach that point of fame, and then they sort of like branch out and invest their money into different things, right? Look at what Akon is doing with have you seen what Akon is doing?
The solar wind thing.
He's making an African city, a futuristic African city that will run on Bitcoin. I am not joking. You should just Google this so that we get the actual details. And the price tag was put already and stuff like that. He has investors. It's this insane thing because originally his plan was to bring power to.
So Akon is moving forward with plans to build a $6 billion sustainable smart city in Senegal called Akon City. The nerve, man.
I'm telling you, I'm just like, you know what?
Okay. The Senegalese American singer said the 2,000-acre futuristic metropolis will include a luxury resort, condos, offices, hostels. Okay, so it's gonna be a Dubai.
You didn't even finish, though. Just finish.
Just condos, offices, a hostel, a stadium, an artificial intelligence data center. That's just a short snippet of the article. Anyway, so it's just trying to build Dubai somewhere in Senegal, basically.
Is that how that works? Do you just build a city and just tell everyone, "Hey, move in"? Like
it's not how it works.
I'm pretty sure China's
not even failed. They have ghost towns. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's not how city building.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. But I guess maybe he's just trying something, He's trying something. Maybe he has the money.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, just for ambition
Yeah,
alone.
yeah. Fuck it, I can't. Imagine
I have
this.
to respect him just for ambition alone.
I can't imagine doing this, man.
What happened to his other mission of bringing?
Why did solar energy?
I wonder how we ended up talking about artists and like it's Kanye. It's because of Kanye.
Let's go on.
It's just such a weird subject because it's one of those out there subjects for both of us. Anyway, so wait, what was his original mission? To bring solar power to?
Yes, solar power, solar and wind power.
How many cities? He talks about a lot of like African cities.
He's talking about like giving power to 600,000 people or something. That's the last thing I heard about it.
It wasn't cities; it was households.
Yeah.
So was it in a specific place? Jamie, put it up. Jesus
Christ.
Jamie, put it up.
Jesus Christ. That's not truthful. We are broke. Yeah? That's we can't afford a Jamie.
Ruto, bring it up. Ruto. Oscar, I'm paying you, man. Bring it up. I'm paying you in juice boxes. Bring that shit up.
So there's too many things. Fact check. Akon Lighting Africa. Rants, praise, and rhetoric. Don't know what this is, but it looks juicy. So the company is called Akon Solar Power. Wait.
Hey, everything has Akon on the name.
Yeah. So the idea was for him to provide 600 million Africans with electricity.
Right.
So Akon Lighting Africa. That's the name of the company. Akon Lighting Africa.
This guy is just he's Trump. He's basically Trump. He's just branded his name and he's putting it everywhere,
Okay, so by 2015, they're already given power to 8 million people. I don't know.
So you're telling me they're working on it?
They're working. Yes, they're working on it.
So there's like updates and progress being made.
But this thing is from 2018. This article is from 2018, so I don't know. But they must be doing something. The company was in 2014 and 2018. They have
and if that initiative failed, the news would be all over that one. Yeah. So they're probably still working on something. I was gonna ask, is that what Africans need?
What?
Power? Is that what African cities really need?
Okay.
Like for our country, Kenya, if Akon came to Kenya, it's like, hey, I'm gonna tells the government and the people, hey, I'm gonna start investing into like some of these houses and apartments in, let's say, Nairobi or like whatever outskirts of Kenya, right? And I'm gonna start giving these people power. Okay, it'll definitely help people.
Yeah, it will help people for sure. Electricity is good, man. Electricity is good. Just having light at night, not thinking about getting like kerosene for your lamp. Maybe we're going to buy kerosene for a lamp, bro, and filling that lamp with kerosene, lighting it every fucking evening.
I don't even like the smell of kerosene. My grandparents used to use it back in the day when literally all we had was in the beginning in my grandfather's place we had a solar panel, but there was something wrong with. I don't think we had a battery, or the battery was very weak. So it would be enough to light up specific places in the house, but not the entire house. So those other places, especially when you're sitting outside, you have to use kerosene lamps, and it used to be like.
Yeah, so
we're going back to the 1600s here. What's going on,
Electricity is good, man. So I think it will help people for sure.
Okay, so what I meant by that was like, can people even feed themselves? Do you give them electricity before they can feed themselves?
Okay, so with or without the electricity, they have no food. So would you just drop food on it? What are you doing?
So you give them light, but okay, they need. Okay, obviously they need all of it. They need electricity. It's all basic needs. It's not. It's not.
The food. Here's the thing. The food has to come from the earth, right? Akon can't give you food. He can give you techniques on how to grow your food, but he can't give you food.
He's not God.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't just. Okay.
But he can help you give. He can help give electricity. Plus, he can do that for sure at least.
So the question is, what is our government doing? What is Kenyan government doing?
You know what they're doing. you know what they're doing. What you're saying. We have apparently our president is an alcoholic. So he promised us laptops.
So Why is that such a widespread thing amongst African countries?
What?
Because talking to like my boss from Cameroon, right? We talked about politics at some point, right? And it just struck me how like similar the political culture and political history is between like Cameroon and Kenya. Despite Cameroon and Kenya like literally being colonized by different countries and like oh wait, Cameroon it's half British and half French, right?
I don't know. I thought it's all French.
Was it all French?
I thought it's all French, but which is funny because they speak really good English.
I thought it was French and British.
But
I wonder what happened there. The point is that it's not just Cameroon. It's Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa. The corruption is all over. Why is that prevalent in African countries, really? Why? What has created that petri dish for these parasites to be born in the culture?
My idea is
in the
this.
Political sphere.
When I was in USIU, we had this class on something to do with. It was also the class was called it. It was an introductory class to international relations.
Yeah.
And during one of the classes, we were talking about the difference between Singapore and Kenya, for instance. Why isn't Kenya anything like Singapore? And of course, being kids in university, we all cite about.
I knew the moment you were bringing out USIU.
Kids, kids are psyched about being here. We have the power to change this country. Blah blah blah. So everyone says if
it's the kind of hope that only comes with youth, comes with the young age.
Exactly. It's like if Singapore can do it, we can do it. And I remember
we sound so jaded.
No, but it's not. Even back then, I remember telling people in the class. I told them, I remember raising my hand, and I wasn't sure what I was about to say, but I had this point in my head, and the point was, have you guys ever experienced winter? Most guys, of course, growing up in Kenya, said no. And I told them, I imagine if you experience winter, it's going to make you think very differently. Because when I go into Baringo, my father's hometown, I just want to sleep for the whole day. I'll eat my fruits from the trees. I'll sleep under the shade. But if no winter is rolling around, I'll think about how I'm going to store my food. Where will I get food for the winter? And I assume that will help your city or your village develop, right? You have to think about this every other year. You're looking at the seasons. But living in Africa, you're just looking at night and day. It's night, day. It's daytime, it's nighttime. Here you have to think, living in the northern hemisphere, you have to think months ahead.
Okay. Now, so there's definitely an extra layer of planning and management.
Yes, that I think. I know as a fact.
Village management or society.
This exists in Kenya. Yeah. So for sure that influences the culture, influences the people. Right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, but definitely. I remember the hate I got in that class. Oh, why can Singapore do it and not Kenya? And because it's hope.
Singapore is in the northern hemisphere. Yeah, so what are people talking about?
Because they were saying Singapore was able to develop such a short time. They weren't always the way they are today. And of course, the thing is that these are Asians, man. They're not Africans. Look, they have this Confucius culture. How do you learn how to read kanji and stuff? How do kids learn how to read kanji and write kanji? You have to, the only way to read it and write kanji, to read how to learn. The only way to learn how to read and write kanji is to read and write kanji over and over and over and over again. There is no other way.
Yeah.
In Africa, at least as far as we know, there is no written word in Kamba, right? That isn't like Roman alphabet, right?
No.
Same with Kalenjin, as far as I know. Maybe there wasn't in the past. Right now there isn't.
Actually, that's a very interesting point.
Yeah.
We're using the Romanic.
Yeah, Roman alphabet.
The Roman alphabet.
Yeah. Now that's funny, right? Because they say if you look at the Japanese guys, the Japanese guys see a sign saying, "Don't use this door. Walk on these steps," and they follow that to a T. They don't want to break the order. There's no order. Have you seen that interesting picture on the internet whereby people are given like stickers and it's like America, Canada, Japan, Australia, where are you from? Just put the sticker in the country that you're from.
Yeah.
And you can see like people from all those countries minus Japan, the stickers just everywhere. They're just a mess. But the Japanese are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect order. It was insane. It was insane.
That's
Asian
Japanese
thinking.
are very organized.
Not just Japan, not even Koreans, Chinese, very organized. And when these people are told, we are going to
Are
follow
the Chinese
this
very organized? They're organized now, but have they historically always been organized?
Confucianism is their thing. Writing is kanji is their thing. I think you have to have a very organized mind to figure out how to do all of that.
Right.
Even just learning how to read and write kanji, man. You know how much of a hassle it is.
Okay. I want us to break down this organization thing, because you can also argue that, hey, before we were given these systems, before the British gave us those systems in Kenya, things were working fine. We were all organized.
Exactly.
We had the Swahili coast.
Yeah.
We had the central. We had people in the north. We have the herders in the north. People in the central were trading with the people in the Swahili coasts. Swahili coasts were trading with like the Portuguese and stuff like that. There was Mombasa Port was a huge thing.
No, I get that. I'm talking about.
So there was like basically there was a social order at that time. Isn't that some form of organization?
Now, when I'm talking about organization, I'm talking about the difference between Kenya today and Singapore today. Why is Singapore the way it is? I'm not talking about lack of organization in Kenya's history, but there is something that was robbed of us when we were given this modern system that makes it impossible for us to organize our minds and organize our culture.
Is organization really the word you're looking for?
I don't know. I can't find another word. I can't think of another word right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so you're right. Maybe it's something else. But my point is, something was definitely robbed of us when Kenya became Kenya. And it's kind of crazy that we fight over Kenya, what Kenya should be. But Kenya's only been alive for, 60, 70 years?
I think all countries, there's people who are fighting for a specific image that country should be striving for. The people should be striving for.
Yeah, but country. You can imagine, let's look at America. America is 76, right?
Actually, America is a really good one because America has so many groups of people.
Yes, now 76, right? Let's look at a country like Germany, for instance. How old is Germany? I don't know. Well, Germany actually from 18 something. But let's look into
just after 1800s, because
1890s, 1870s, but because it was Prussia and something else.
Prussia, Prussia, because this was just like a little bit just before the World War I.
Yes, like
Germany had just formed. Germany was like was the youngest nation in Europe before World War I.
So, if you look at a country like France has been around forever, or even China. China is the oldest nation in the world, right?
Actually, yeah, China, India.
Yeah, exactly. So think about that. Those people are not fighting for Chinese image. That image is already there. It's settled in their brains. It's settled.
Actually, it's changed too much over time.
I mean, but you can't convince a Chinese person that China isn't a thing. There's no talking about China to a Chinese person. They know China is. They know the history. It's a history that no one in the universe can deny, right? But let's talk about Kenyan history. What do you know? Kenya gained independence in 1963.
Beyond, I think, maybe 1700s.
We don't know almost nothing.
No, 1600s. Yeah. Because that's a consequence of how we kept history.
And even going back that far, right? The reason why I started 1963 is because talking about Kenya in the 1600s, you're not talking about Kenya. You're talking about different nationalities within the land that is today Kenya.
Yeah. We're talking about I don't know how many tribes.
Exactly. So there was no Kenya.
These tribes, they assembled themselves way across like the borderlines in which we call our modern countries, right? There's that map that showed like native tribes and like where as far back as the roots they could chase back from like the earliest locations in which the native tribes could be found. And it's very apparent how like the European powers cut those people, those tribes in like different pieces on purpose to separate and conquer them.
So there's no talking about. I understand wanting to be patriotic, but okay, I understand. Just wanting to the place you call your country to be nice, to be safe, to be developed, to be like Japan, right? We all want that. Everyone would like that for Kenya, right? To be like Japan, as clean as this place is, as safe. We all want that. But
yeah, Japan has a lot of things that I think a lot of countries would people in the world would say is desirable.
Exactly. So, but I also don't feel a strong patriotic sense as a Kenyan. Like, what does being a Kenyan mean? I can't tell you to this day. I can't tell anyone. What does that mean? I don't know.
We never. It's funny because similar to how America has so many groups of people that are broken up, and like their history is like all over the place. Some of them are like second generation, first generation immigrants. Who knows how far back their family history goes? But as soon as they step in America, it's like, I'm a fucking American.
Exactly.
They understand this is the land of the free. Like there's that, whether it's what's it called, the Constitution, and the what's the thing they always talk about? Constitution. No, the forefathers made the what's it called?
Constitution.
No.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, and the amendments, right?
They also made the Constitution.
Yeah, okay, shut up. Okay, those like, but how many Americans can actually say like the Constitution off of their head, like the amendments?
Nah, no one can. I think very few people can. And also,
isn't that something that they toast? This is an interesting question. You should ask an American. But anyway, point is that America has an identity. As rough as that identity is, it's ingrained to somebody who immediately sets foot in that country. Whether it's the American dream, whether it's the idea of, hey, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can walk around, and as long as I'm putting forth value into the society, I will be given a place of my very own. That's the American dream in a nutshell.
So
we all know about like America's values because they're always preaching it and they always talk about the American dream.
Okay, let me tell you why
that unites them, right?
Let me tell you why the American Constitution is so palatable for any human being. The American Constitution is only 4 pages long.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they studied that in school.
It's nothing. Right?
Yeah.
What's this? Something's wrong with your phone.
What do you mean?
This is set an alarm or something?
Oh, it's just an alarm, yeah.
Is it still recording? It doesn't make recording. Why do you so has it been recording?
No, it's recording.
Okay.
I can see.
Okay, good. Anyway, yeah, so
wait.
Yeah, so this guy is
wait.
Why?
So that you'll be able to edit it properly. Yeah.
So the Constitution is only 4 pages long, right? So it's palatable for anyone. Now, guess how many pages is the Kenyan Constitution? The one that was the miracle constitution that was supposed to cure Kenya of all its problems made in 2010.
Was it more than 40?
Hey, my brother.
We stole a lot of it from the British Constitution at the time.
No, the new one.
The new one.
2010 version.
I have no idea. How many pages is that?
It's thick. When I was in high school, I gave it to everyone. That thing is thick. Whoa.
We briefly talked about the overall points, but we never got it.
It was too big. It's like no one has the time to go through this. It's like I'm reading a Harry Potter book. It was too thick.
And the Constitution, what a Constitution is even supposed to be?
I don't remember. Just like I would say I assume they're the basis of they're the foundation of all the laws that make the nation.
So like the Romans had the 12 tables.
You know what that is?
You can look it up. I can. So the 12 tables was like the Constitution. I'm pretty sure that was like the unbreakable laws that all it was supposed to be similar to like how we try to make the rights of men. Or like America has the rights of men. That is what defined them, right? Or the freedom of men. And they implemented those ideas into their constitution. Like the Romans had the 12 tables were like I need to be careful here. The 12 tables were like those fundamental laws that no one could break, and those laws were like ingrained in their society.
So a constitution is a body of fundamental principles or established precedents.
Principles, yeah.
According to which a state or other organization is acknowledged to be governed. Yep, that's it.
Such 12 tables. Roman law. I'm pretty sure all of our law has a basis and has roots from the 12 tables.
So the law of the 12 tables was the legislation that stood at the foundation of Roman law.
Yeah.
The tables consolidated earlier traditions into an enduring set of laws. That's it.
So it's not got to do anything with the constitution. It was just like one of those fundamental first steps towards a legal system, or like fundamentals and like principles of a legal system.
Yeah.
Anyway, so going back to like our countries, or like, you know, Kenya, Japan. Kenya's divided, America's divided. Why don't we have an identity?
Because it's our nation, our country is too young to have an identity yet.
Is that true?
I would say so. For sure. Which country that is this young has an identity? Tell me one.
I don't know.
There's none. And even you can say
Germany.
Germany isn't as young as Kenya, man.
No, but Germany was able to form an identity immediately after it was formed.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So Germany being formed, how was Germany formed? Was it a group of people being forced to stay together, or did they choose to come together?
They chose to come together.
Exactly. No Kenya chose to become like this. No individual was there before Kenya wanted Kenya to become like this, unless those guys who were our politicians at the time, because they wanted peace.
If you ask Kenyans today, hey, should the country still remain as it is?
Because no other way. This is the only thing we know.
Is that truth? It's not. It's like we can.
What else do you know? Okay. Because that's unfair. Because if Kenya isn't Kenya, what are we? Who's defending us? Where's the army that's going to defend us if Uganda comes in, or the terrorists come in? Who's going to defend us?
Right.
So if there's no Kenya, what's going to exist? Just some random land that no other country want to touch.
So, let's say hypothetically, if you told Kenyans, hey, we can divide up the country, let's say into 3 parts. The 3 parts will have stronger ethnic and social connections with one another, because the people in those countries will be able to like relate with one another. And all you have to do is sacrifice the overall power of like the whole country of Kenya would have had, versus like, so okay, what are we sacrificing? They're sacrificing like the overall power of Kenya. Kenya has a lot of resources as an entire country, right? But if you divide it into 3, it's like,
what's less?
It's less.
Yeah.
It's obviously less.
Yeah.
But that hasn't stopped countries from having amazing, like having what do you call it? Efficient economies, massively like technologically advanced economies too, and creating cities and like lifestyles, and lifestyles specifically for citizens that allow them like high-end lifestyles. Like comparing like Japan is just an island. Yet look at the society itself. Look at how advanced the economies are. It's
so I would say,
and you can't really compare it to Kenya, right?
You can't. There's no way. Living different planets, man.
So okay, I'll make the hypothetical more simple. Hey, let's divide up Kenya and turn it into 3 Japans.
But no, that's not possible.
It's a hypothetical. It's a hypothetical.
How turn it into 3 Japans? What do you mean? Like,
the idea is that hey, there's a possibility that because these people are more united, there'll be less infighting. The politics will be much less. There'll be less volatile.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about like political violence. You don't have to worry about like minorities or like groups of like different ethnic groups killing each other. So as a people, we can all band together and push in one direction. Now that direction might be like, hey, let's kill our neighbor next door. You know.
Yeah, true. But now,
but if let's say for example that one direction happens to be like the direction that allows that country to like just truly evolve as a civilization.
But so it's not a country, it's not three countries, so there's no Kenya anymore, it's something else, right?
Yeah, it's something else.
Yeah, I think it might work, but it's not a good. Yeah, actually, I think it will be better. It will be better. But now, here's the thing. The thing is, Nairobi is only good because Nairobi is takes in all the money from everyone else, right?
So also that hypothetical, just we're applying it to Kenya, but let's just apply it to like the entirety of Africa, like just dividing Africa instead of amongst like geographical lines, divide Africa with like amongst ethnic lines instead.
But
and
I
like
will
it's
say,
just like
I will say that's already done by nature. Like,
oh, that's not what we did.
I mean, nature's done that because the geographical lines are what puts people on one side of the Rift Valley, and people on the other side of the Rift Valley. You know.
Oh, but those people would definitely meet with one another.
Yeah, they will meet, but growing up, like a culture.
So it makes sense what you're saying for sure. Like rivers and lakes, they would divide people for sure, right? But human beings, like the European powers went beyond that. Even in places where there weren't like physical obstacles, they still just divided the people up.
What I'm saying is, you can't talk about this dividing Africa. What you said by what? According by what?
The geographical lines.
I don't know. You said you don't want to do another way, something else.
Ethnic lines.
But that's already done. I'm saying that's Africa is divided by ethnic lines. All the Maasai are in one place.
There's a lot of.
Well, I mean, even though it's of course now we say Kenya, Tanzania, right? But if we were to remove the map, you can see where all the Maasai are. They're all in a similar place. Now
it's similar place, but not
the same place. The same place. It's the same place, right? It's one line. Now the difference is, the issue is that now there's a line saying this part is Kenya, this part is Tanzania, but all the Maasai are just like over here, on both sides of this line, right? Yes. All the Kamba are on this place over here, right?
Yes.
All the Swahili are on this place over here.
So to make it easier, it's like, hey, why don't you just give all the Maasai like their own country, for example? As tiny as that might be, give them their own country.
But the issue is, do all Maasai want to do that? What happens to the Maasais who are married to Swahili women?
Oh no, that doesn't stop them from marrying outside of their country.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, maybe
the idea here is to create a united front as people.
But do all people do that? That's also the issue, because like going back to how the things we're used to. Do you want to go
as a baseline? If we could go back there, that was the hypothetical. If we could go back there, because one of I think it's a pretty accepted idea that European countries used to fight with each other a lot, but one thing that helped them out when forming their nations in the early days is that, hey, there were like a lot of homogeneous, like their population was very homogenic.
But that argument isn't fair, because back then all societies were homogenic.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, most of them. Yeah, apart from, I would say maybe Rome, the center Rome, and maybe like
even Rome was. Yeah, like, they had minorities.
Yes, I'm saying like Rome. They are big centers which were like they were not like that. But most other places in the world were just one people, right? Apart from maybe you can say Rome, like really Rome, the center. We can talk about where else can, like maybe the Ottoman Empire.
Okay. So clearly, there's a lot of factors here. So it was a bad idea for me to focus on that, just the having a homogenic population, because history also plays a huge part of which country and nation comes up and becomes a leader, and the other one falls down, right? And resources obviously is another huge factor.
It's nature too, also just you bad luck.
So So let's say part one was like, hey, we have a homogenic population. Because
so it's okay. Let's say it's okay. Now we have only Maasai. Okay, what's next? It's only Maasai.
Yeah.
Step 2.
Step 2 is now like, hey, the resources we have in those countries, right?
What's the resource? It's Maasai land. The country is called Maasai land.
It's Maasai land, right?
What resources do we have?
What races do we have? That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay, let's say we have. Now, what do they have in Maasai territory? What resources do they have there? Actually, I have no idea. Wind? Would you call wind a resource?
Well, if you can harvest it, sure.
What do they have in that? I actually don't know. Okay, geothermal energy. They have geothermal energy.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so they have geothermal energy. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So next, what else do we need? So they have it's Maasai land. We have geothermal energy.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step?
Mm-hmm. So you need a government.
Okay.
You need a government. You need to start making like a place in which your people can congregate in order to like form systems of governance.
Okay, so we have a town hall. We must have a regular town hall.
Yeah.
We meet up and talk and discuss and how.
What is this country? What are we trying to be? Who are we as people? Yeah. You know.
I mean, we are already Maasai. We know that, but now.
What is the philosophy? Yeah. What is the philosophy in which you're going to use in order to like govern this country?
Okay, so we're trying to come up with a constitution, basically. Okay, now we have a constitution. Are we going to be democratic? Are we going to be capitalists? Are we going to be communists, socialists? What are we going to be?
They choose something, whatever they feel is right. Let's just make it easy and say like they chose to be a democratic monarchy.
Like which country is a democratic monarchy today?
Yeah. I don't know, but let's just put it out there. They have a royal family, but it's also like a parliament and stuff like that, whatever.
So like a ceremonial, like just like Japan basically, a ceremonial royal family, but we have a parliament that does the actual job.
I think a democratic. Okay, I don't want to get lost. Okay, sure. Let's just roll with that. Yes. I don't want to get lost in that one. And then the idea is that hopefully, you know, they don't have to deal with the problems that the old country Kenya had to deal with, which is like it's easier for politicians. Oh, it's easier. Okay. Is it really easier though? You would hope with that united front, like there being like a philosophy behind, like there's a philosophy, there's this well of shared ideas that people wouldn't want to steal from each other, because they would actually feel like, hey, I'm not just stealing from this person's family when I like decide to like be corrupt as a politician. I'm stealing from my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. I think like everyone is viewed as each other's children, you know.
But I think
everyone is a parent, everyone is a brother, everyone is a sister.
Too realistic here. Let's go back to the past. 2010. In 2010, the newest country in Africa was formed.
Yes.
Which country was that?
Sudan.
Yes, South Sudan.
South Sudan, yeah.
Now, prior to 2010, Sudan was just this. It was the biggest country in Africa, but all the resources.
Was it the biggest country in Africa?
Yes, it was the biggest country in Africa. Yes.
Really? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So prior to 2010, Khartoum, which was the capital, was in the north. So all the resources were coming from the south and going to the north. That's why the south was very poor. There was the war for resources happening in Darfur, which is still happening now. So now 2010 comes, close the border. Now we're two countries, Sudan and South Sudan.
Which one is the Muslim majority and which one is the Christian?
Sudan, north.
Okay.
Now our capital city is Juba, right?
Yeah.
And we are ethnically we are very similar. It's Dinka, it's Nuer.
It's actually the religion that really separates them.
No, but now they're Christians. No, they're Christians. South Sudan. Talking about South Sudan, the new country.
Okay.
Now we are almost similar people. We look the same. We kind of understand each other, but we are still killing each other over the oil. Yeah. The newest country in Africa, which is supposed to be the hope of the world, and it's fucking up more.
Was it supposed to be the hope of the world?
Supposed to be
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be the hope of
Africa, at least. People are hopeful. At least now, you have your own take care of yourselves. You're gonna show us the way where I've been fucking up. You're gonna become responsible, right? But going back to what I was saying about Kenya,
people really thinking?
People were very hopeful.
People were hopeful, but I don't think they viewed it on that pedestal. Like, this was like
guys like
the country that's going to lead. It's like
not to lead, but like a child. You have hope for the child, right?
Yes, very much.
Now, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Going back to Kenya. There's no expect Kenya that is 60 years old. Okay, so this country, even this Maasai land, it can't succeed. at least in the beginning, because it's something that was never there before. You're just throwing people into the fire. Figure it out. Like the town hall, okay? We all Masai show, we speak the language, we have the same culture.
Yeah.
But Oscar and Jayson think totally differently. You want to be a communist, I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah, no, like the idea behind there being a homogenic population is that you're supposed to reduce the probability of people fighting.
But now look at Sudan, which is the newest country, which is very homogeneous, and they're killing each other. They're not just like bickering. There's literally a war happening in the country.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But then look at how many other homogenic countries are doing well.
Okay, so we have Japan, which is probably the most homogeneous.
A lot of the European countries too.
But are they doing well? Is France doing well? Is Germany?
Do you want to compare it? Like, there's a whole economic index for that.
Okay.
A lot of them are
economically,
on the top side.
Economically, yes, of course they're doing well, but then you also go back to where the resources are coming from. Okay, this is something almost. It's a fact. There's a former French president who said that if we were to stop taking our resources from West Africa, France would be a third world country.
Okay.
I feel that's most of Europe, because they don't have what resources they have. They have wind in geothermal, I guess. What do they have in Europe actually? I don't even know. They're not resource rich. I don't think Europe. They think
they are. There's few countries that are.
I think they killed all the end. They finished all the resources, right? At least the ones from the ground.
No, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I don't know about now, but I'm like, historically, Europe did have quite a few resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bad idea to say Europe, because Europe is a very large place.
Okay, so like
we should be talking about specific countries.
So listen to this. There are many different natural resources found in Europe.
Yeah.
These include wood, soil, water, fish, natural gas, coal, and iron. That's all they have. And like soil.
Minerals. What minerals and precious metals do they have?
Let me see. Europe resources, natural geographic. Let's see. Okay, so this is from Natural Geographic.
They never had diamonds, so
they only come from, where do the diamonds come from? From
Africa,
South Africa, Congo, places.
Where was diamonds originally found? That's an interesting.
Europe is.
The person who found diamonds was like, oh hell yeah! Like he probably didn't even know what he was dealing with. He might have been using diamonds as like crushing his fruits or something, or grinding bones.
So I'm seeing there's titanium in Norway, silver in Poland.
They have precious. They have precious. They have precious metals. Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah. But now, like something like.
So what you meant, but you're still not wrong in the sense that in order to support the machines of their society, they need the resources of the African countries. That's why China is like loving the relationships and the deals that they're making with a lot of African countries, because they're like, oh yeah, you guys are gonna feed us the fuel to like push the engines of modernization and our economy and our society forward. So, or basically, almost like the worker ants in the bigger machine, but it's like,
but it's funny because you think about it. You and I are not the worker ants anymore. You know, we're eating what the worker ants are making. Living in Japan, there's people living in Japan, because Japan is one of those countries that benefits from the resources of coming from Africa. You and I benefit here from resources from Kenya more than Kenyans do in Kenya benefit from those resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but those resources, you can argue, are being bought and sold. So it's not like a completely like a slave-driven thing.
It's not slave. Even those people working like the coal mines, they're being paid. They're just being paid shit, but they're eating, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So it's not about being paid. Being paid isn't the problem. It's like, is what you're getting worth it? That's the problem. That's the issue.
Is what they're getting worth it?
Yes,
well,
I don't
in Kenya,
I mean,
in Kenya, it's like
you don't know the chair will break.
Okay.
I mean, like if you can lean, but just don't go up like that.
So like in Kenya, it's like what our politicians are doing by like slowly driving the debt of the country.
Did you see that? Did they show that article?
What?
That Kenya was borrowing like 40 billion a day or something like that.
During Corona?
Yeah.
Yes, he did
oh
show
my
me that.
God. Oh my, 40 billion a day?
You know the other countries and like the people. Who are they borrowing it from? Were they borrowing from other countries?
I actually don't know. Like I assume they're borrowing from China,
and the World Bank and stuff like that. You know they're loving that shit. They're like,
you're stuck with us now.
Just drive the bill higher and higher.
You're
gonna be cleaning our tables tomorrow, bitch.
Oh my God! What's so funny is that these guys at the top, Uhuru, Ruto, all these guys.
These guys they're cruising, bro. Money. They're cruising the wealth.
Their term will end and they'll just vanish.
They'll vanish.
They'll move to France.
Exactly. They will vanish away completely from the country.
You're like, hey, what happened to Ruto? I don't know. He's in France. He still owns half of Kenya. He still owns half of Kenya. Hey. These guys are jokers, man. These guys are... I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. This is what I think. Number one, Kenya is fucked up because we are very young. This system isn't our system because the reason
why... okay. That's when you said like it's a very young nation, that is definitely part of it.
Number two, the system isn't ours. You look at democracy and the idea of, those ideas, those are all European ideas, right? Yes. That's where they work solely in Europe. And it's obvious for them because they had time to fuck up until they came to the solution. This is the best. We didn't have time to fuck up and learn what would work for the African man or woman, right?
It's something that was definitely created through
trial and error, right?
Yeah.
But as Kenyans, we didn't have time for trial and error. We're just given this thing called democracy. Like, take it. And if it doesn't work, we are sending our soldiers. If you start killing each other because you don't like your neighbor, we're sending our soldiers to fix your problems. Right?
Was it really like when we gained? Okay, when we were colonized.
Yes, yeah. And so, like, of course, there was no time for us to learn and find out what would work for us. That's why the idea of democracy in Africa, it's a goddamn lie. And everyone who says I'm going to cast my vote, you're lying to yourself.
No, like the problem is that we don't even understand what that even means. Like, what does democracy even mean? Like when you ask the politicians a lot of this, like when you ask them like the philosophy. Asking about the philosophy of democracy and like us standing up for that idea, the idea of liberty, the idea of like, hey, people have a voice.
True.
To say how they have the voice, they should have the voice and the power in order to like say what the country should be like or what the country should strive to be like. But it's like that philosophy versus what's happening in reality. There's that huge disconnect. There's that huge gap. Because when I say, when you ask one of these politicians, they'll tell you, but then when you tell them, hey, what are the things that you're actually doing to like reinforce, or like act out this philosophy in reality? What are you actually doing? And some of your past actions, a lot of the past actions of politicians makes no sense. And it's just like, they'll give you an excuse, right? They'll give you a story.
Yeah, the reason why I don't believe in democracy in Africa is because, number one, democracy is not ours. It's not our thing. Number two,
I think we definitely had democracy in the sense of like...
In the sense we had kings.
We had kings.
That's not democracy, man. That's not democracy. It's the king. The king says and things go.
We had chiefs.
No, we didn't have chiefs. Now, chiefs, that's also a British thing. Not all African societies had chiefs. The idea of chiefs actually initially came with the French people. With the French. Actually,
really?
No, British, yeah. Not all, no, we didn't have chiefs. Not all societies in Africa had chiefs. That's the one, the guy.
Okay, now you're right. Yeah. Okay, we should talk about a specific country.
Yeah, so like, but for
because South Africans, like the Zulu nation, they had chiefs. Like a lot of nations, like a lot of their tribes had like... The chiefs were basically like kings.
Okay, but that's now you're going into one population. Okay, let's say we had a big head honcho, okay?
Yeah.
And the big head honcho, he wasn't being voted in. It was his bloodline or something.
It was bloodline.
Exactly.
It was basically, it was very based on the power hierarchy.
Exactly. So it wasn't democracy.
Somebody who was competent and not competent enough to just come and take the position and
yeah, maybe it's fighting and fight to the death.
Fighting.
Okay,
yeah.
so it wasn't like let's go to the booths on November 3rd. It wasn't. There was nothing there.
Or leading an army.
Yeah.
He was just leading an army.
So there was no election day, right? There was no election day.
There was no election.
Exactly. So we didn't have democracy as we call democracy day in Kenya, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying whatever we had in the past, it might sound silly, like Jayson Oscar have to fight and the winner is the leader. It sounds silly, but that was us experimenting and seeing what works. Even a few decades like, this is crazy, it's not making any sense. Because maybe Oscar won, but Oscar's a fucking idiot. He shouldn't be our leader. Maybe we'll figure out something else. But we just dropped this bomb called democracy. This British style democracy. Take it. And
also based on how lives were lived back then. The game of physicality, how strong are you?
It made sense.
Because what are you doing as a normal man during that period? It's like you're hunting.
You're farming.
You're hunting, you're playing around, maybe you're playing sports with the boys, taking naps and stuff like that. But it's like very much on a constant basis you're being tested physically. So it's like, who should have the right to lead our people? Which man should have the right? Because it was always a man, right? Well, there were a few nations that had women too, but like, let's just say a lot more men were leading, right? So who as a man has the right to lead us? Who are we going to give it to? Might as well give it to the person who can fucking run like a cheetah.
True.
Can fucking punch people out like has like the strength of an elephant, you know. So we failed the transition. Is that what you're saying? The British Kenya failed.
We will never get good at it, man. We will never, and we'll get good at it the day no one speaks Kamba, no one speaks Kalenjin, no one speaks Kikuyu. That's the day we will get better.
But we're already working to it.
We're heading there. Yeah. But now we are still not there. It's gonna be like 2 generations later or 1 generation. I don't know, but it will get better the moment all that shit dies.
Okay, you're painting a very dark image here.
It's not dark. It's not dark. I mean, think about it.
Okay, but you know what?
It's a fact.
I feel like a lot of
Japan wasn't
the people I talk with from home definitely don't have a hopeful vision in mind. There's people who have a neutral, like, you know, Kenya has been here for a while. We'll figure it out. But there's some other people, like a lot of people, like especially young people, have the same ideas that we're talking about. Where it's like, hey, I see a lot of like disaster where we're heading right now as a country.
Yeah, actually, it's disaster. If you think it's disaster, we owe everyone money. You know, China. I mean, we're pretty much China's bitch right now, man.
Not yet, not officially, but like.
I mean, we're not, no, not officially, but we know, you know, like he's the kind of this is our relationship with China. If you're a woman and you're in your own bed sitter, and China comes and knocks at the door, you won't go say, "I'm tired, I'm sleeping." You just open the door, so you come in.
And then how much we're investing into like Mandarin studies.
Yes.
Radio stations.
I mean,
many other schools that come in.
We don't know. Maybe China will make Kenya much better. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe China will make Kenya what it's meant to be. I don't know.
I definitely think China's just using these African countries. China's not like really like.
Man, what country is good? What country is just good for the sake of being good? Tell me one. Just tell me one.
I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying.
That's bullshit, you know? Of course.
China has an agenda.
Of course.
Every country has this agenda. You're right about that.
So why are we so worried about Chinese agenda? Because they're beating America. We're scared of that shit. Because they're beating America.
America's basically committing suicide. They're just doing some puku on themselves at this point.
But I'm saying, like, I don't know, maybe right now it looks really bad for Kenya and China, but who knows? China might come and make things wonderful in Kenya. I don't know. Or they might come make us their slaves. Just slavery round 2. Like all you black people are going to work for the Chinese who live here, you know?
Yeah.
It can happen because
they're gonna take over the port if we don't pay back the debt.
The thing is about
especially for the SGR. I don't even know how. Can you search what the payments are for the SGR?
What do you mean? The payments for what?
The SGR. The train.
Like to use it, the train, or for what do you mean?
Yeah.
To use it?
No, like there's a whole who was supposed to fit the bill for that. So people who don't know what we're talking about, there's a whole like what transnational, I'll call it a transnational railway system that was created in Kenya. Call it the SGR. Cut across
from Mombasa, Nairobi.
Popular points in the country, and it's made like traveling around way easier. As before, the primary transport mode of transport was buses when it came to like moving around nationally. So now with that in mind, like China built it all out of from the great gracious of their hearts, right? At least that's what they'd make us think, but it's like somebody has to fit that bill. So and I'm like, what was the original deal that the government made?
The cost of building the railway was $3.2 billion US.
And how's Kenya supposed to pay that back?
Let me see. How is it supposed to be? Kenya borrowed more than $3 billion from China to build the railway. So basically,
you know what's funny? We didn't even build it. We contracted Chinese companies because Kenyans don't know how to build.
So listen to this. So Kenya borrowed $3 billion from China to build the railway from Mombasa to Nairobi. Then it borrowed another $1.5 billion for the second branch from Nairobi to Naivasha.
And we didn't build it. We contracted people to build it. And a lot of those companies that were contracted were Chinese too. So that's a lot already more money going into China.
Wow.
So it's interesting to think that we borrowed money just to pay their companies to come build this.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, we might get censored on YouTube. That would be funny.
Listen to this. Kenyan media reports that $1.3 million US was paid to only 5 supervising engineers.
I think we're approaching the 1 hour and 30-minute mark, so we're gonna wrap up soon. So anyway, just finish up with the SGR, just the SGR.
Yeah, so I think we owe them around 5.5. I don't know. That's how much we owe them.
Is it detailed like how we're gonna pay them back?
No, of course they don't talk about that. We'll figure that out along the way, I guess.
They didn't. Wait, they haven't talked about it?
I just can't find anything on that here.
So China has taken over certain parts of an economy in order to gain back like a certain I have corona, by the way. So a certain when a country is not able to pay a certain bill, or has a certain amount of debt that isn't being paid back to China, they will take off like a certain hold. So that has been done in an Asian. I can't remember which Asian country it was.
This is from 2017. It says, Transport Minister James Macharia has said the Kenyan government expects the new line to boost GDP by 1.5%, allowing the Chinese loans to be paid back in about 4 years. We're already 3 years in. Nothing has been paid back.
Wait. So are we paying them?
No, this article is from 2016, and this was what the minister was alleging. He was just giving out, throwing numbers. He was saying when the line is finished.
What are our journalists doing?
This is 2017, so maybe the line was.
No, but the point is, what are our journalists doing? This is such a big, major point. Like, that is a huge bill, and no one's following up how we're updating.
I'm sure you just can't find it.
Okay. Maybe you just can't find it. Okay, fair enough. Jamie, pull it up.
Yeah. So how are we paying? How is Kenya paying for it? SJ? Is Kenya paying loan?
It's just such a weird thing to hear. Like, you'd think that would be one of the biggest talking points. Because like, hey, we have this wonderful railway system, sorry, and God bless the Chinese, all blah blah blah, all that stuff. But it's like, hey, how are we actually paying them back? We said 4 years, but it's like billions. How much did you say?
Now it's
dollars, right? Was it in dollars?
$4.7 billion US.
There's no way a country like Kenya is paying that back in 4 years. Yeah. That is like, I'm sorry to be the one to say it, but that is just the truth. There's no way we're paying that back in 4 years. And people didn't question it at the time. No, people did question it at the time. I'm being unfair there. People did question it at the time, but people let it go because we were seeing progress.
I mean, the thing with
and even now, people are
the
grateful
super
because
highway,
we're seeing how much we're
have we
benefiting.
paid for the thicker superhighway as well? So
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know anything about that actually.
Actually, yeah. Did we pay for that thicker superhighway?
But the point is that the journalists aren't following this up.
No, I'm sure I just can't find it. Let's not blame them yet. Let's not blame them yet.
No, but I think this is also like I said. We're gonna talk about this in another episode because, like, in universities, like, how many times did we hear back in USA everyone's like journalism in Kenya is dead? This is just a shill for the politicians to talk whatever talking points they want the country to talk about.
The politicians own all the big media networks. KTN, Citizen, Nation, they're all owned by the big dogs.
And the idea was the privatization of journalists or news outlets was to create a healthy environment for, create a healthy environment for news.
But then this is the thing with Kenya,
and
right?
the freedom of, like, the written word to get out there.
This is really interesting because in America, now we joke about Trump because Trump was a businessman who became a politician. But that's always been the way in Africa, Kenya.
Was he a businessman who became a politician?
Trump, I'm saying Trump. He was a businessman who became a politician.
He's businessman by name, but like a lot of his companies fail. Okay, I'm digging too deep into it. Continue your point. Yeah.
Of course, he's failed, but he's a billionaire. And he made that through business or lying. Doesn't matter. He made that money, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but he made the money.
Yeah.
Which means...
Well, his name is worth something for sure. It's probably worth millions.
In Kenya, it's the same thing. If you do business and you become successful, the next step is to always become an MP. And everyone does that.
That is true.
Everyone in
Kenya has this weird, like... We have this weird business elite that owns...
They own the country, they're in the government.
Yes, they're in the government specifically. There's this business elite that's also in the government. And they own a lot of, like... Businesses, even physical things in Kenya, physical resources. Land. They own land. And then it's like... But they also have the power to decide how we govern ourselves and how this land is,
because they're the ones in charge of making those laws and passing this.
So it's one thing for you to like own the resources, like the land, but then you also have the power to decide the laws that govern the people who own the land. Does that make sense? So you're not only just a player in the system, you're also like an administrator who's deciding how the system
the laws of the game
too. Yeah. So it's like,
of course, you'll be the winner constantly.
Exactly. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's Kenya, man.
That's basically Kenya. Yeah.
Like, look at the guy like Asonko, who like.
That's basically a lot of African. Actually, that was a really good. With that analogy, it's like that's all African countries.
Yeah. So it's like we laugh at Trump like, haha, Trump is an idiot, bro. Trump is pretty much every African politician in history. He's every African politician.
We do have some crazy politicians who have been saying weird shit for a while.
Bro, Sonko, was he the mayor? He wasn't the mayor. What was he? Something in Nairobi. Sonko.
Wasn't he the MP?
No, he was mayor.
Member of Parliament?
Senator or mayor? Anyway.
Mayor. I think he was mayor.
Driving around in golden Land Cruisers. A motorcade of golden Land Cruisers. What the fuck is happening? And they are real gold. It's not gold paint.
And remember, this is the country that I don't know how. Like, there's a large section of the population that's living on $1 a day.
Like during Corona, when the lockdown began, he went to the slums and gave everyone. What did he give them? The whiskey. Remy Martin. Which one? Which whiskey?
It was a care package that had alcohol.
Sonko care pack. What the fuck did that thing have? Fuck. Bro.
It said Johnny Walker.
Johnny Walker.
Was it Johnny Walker? No, it had something else. It had some. And then he was telling people, this is to wash their hands.
Yeah, can you believe that guy?
This is for sanity purposes. This is to clean your hands.
Hennessy, bottles of Hennessy.
It was Hennessy, sorry. It wasn't Johnny Walker, it was Hennessy.
Can you believe that? Like, he has that. This is our mayor. Our mayor. Like, I'm going to give you a bottle of Hennessy. You fucking
stay at home. Stay at home and enjoy life. Stay at home. And remember to use your Hennessy to clean your hands.
Wow. That's Kenya, man. It was funny for a second, but we are so desensitized to these things in Kenya. We're so fucking crazy things.
No, you're right, because whenever you bring this up with your parents,
it's like it's nothing.
The parents, we have a laugh, but it was just like, oh, this is just our country.
Do you remember? I don't know, when you were a kid. I don't remember how old I was when Mwai Kibaki was the president, and the media, Nation newspaper, wrote an article about the Kibaki family, and Lucy Kibaki, the first lady, drove down to the offices at night, called the editor.
Wasn't that like a big skit on a lot of comedy shows? It was parodied. It was parodied. It was on live TV.
It was on live TV because someone was following them with the camera. It was on live TV. The first lady slapping a magazine editor, like, how can you write this about my family?
Yes. Oh, that thing was parodied a lot. I remember.
Can you imagine that editor like being like, it's just news, and he can't do anything because the bodyguards are all there. If he strikes back, he'll be killed. He'll be shot. He's just taking like a bit.
I think he'll just disappear. He'll be more than just shot. He'll disappear. And then here we are pretending we're a democracy.
Yeah. He was being beaten by the first lady.
Do you think we would be better off as people if we just accepted that Kenya wasn't a democracy and stopped living under this veil of like, it's almost like a smoke and mirrors?
That's why I told people I'm never voting Kenya. I'm never voting. Never ever. Since the first day they turned 18, I was like,
there's no point actually. They probably even like have dinners and meetings by themselves.
Bro, they already know who's gonna be the next president. Fuck your election. They already know who's gonna be the next president.
You're saying like, oh, Raila is fighting with Uhuru and stuff like that. These guys are playing golf with each other.
Go to the current country club, chilling. Or Muzaja with the country club. They're chilling, they're sipping their nice whiskey, Uhuru has his bottle in hand,
That bottle that never leaves his hand.
When I'm telling you, this. I remember I'm having this argument with my father and buddies, and I was telling them, this vote you're doing is silly. It doesn't make any sense.
Do you still believe that?
I truly believe. If we're talking about Kenya, nah.
My problem was, even if I wanted to vote, what do these politicians even stand for? When I was looking, when I was watching debates and stuff like that, it was like, they would talk a lot. It was so amazing. They would talk so much. They would talk for like an hour, 2 hours. But when you think about what they actually said, they've said nothing. And it was one of those things. It's like, I don't even know what this person really stands for. It just feels like a chameleon in like a suit who's just trying to say whatever I want him to say.
Now let me tell you something.
And maybe like you said, it's a young nation, so our politicians aren't that good at it yet.
Now let me tell you my analogy for voting in Kenya is, I'm a smoker, right?
Yeah.
Now, smoking is bad for your health. Now imagine if someone comes and tells us, heavy smoker like me, Oscar, drink water. It's good for your health. Like, drinking water will cure me of the cancer coming from smoking, That's what voting is, Kenya. Like, go and vote. Use your voice. My voice to vote for these two buddies. To vote for either one of the two buddies. The two buddies who, when this thing is over and done, let's go and shake hands and just make the next deal, their lives move on. And as we're thinking, why we're killing each other because you voted for Raila and I voted for. We're fighting here because we think these guys, they really care about Oscar and Jayson. They don't know us, man. Then they care about their land, their companies.
In a future episode, we should definitely look at the political evolution, the evolution of the political sphere in Kenya, starting from the Baba himself, Jomo Kenyatta.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But
going all the way up until now. How did we reach here? Is the real question. How have we reached here? Because it's like, and I think we should look at even the deeper, less known stories. Because we can look at like the presidential ring on top and how that evolved over histories. But I think that's a story that's been covered a lot. We should look like at the deeper, what's been happening in Congress. I was going to say Congress, what the fuck? What's been happening in our parliament. Yeah.
People fighting throwing chairs.
Yeah. Has that always been normal? Like stuff like that. I would like to see if that's
unique. That's not all the time unique. That was unique. That was a unique situation.
It felt a little bit too natural, though. It felt like this isn't something that's
anger boiling up, man. Of course, when anger comes out, it's natural. It don't look weird. If someone looks weird when they're angry, that means that anger is a lie.
Okay, fair enough. That's something I think we should definitely look in a future episode. Can you ask any closing remarks?
Let's see how this podcast goes. It's been interesting talking. I guess just a normal conversation actually. We would just talk like this.
Really? I thought maybe we were a bit stiff in the beginning.
Yeah, of course, because you're thinking about recording, what should we to talk about, of course, that's why it's still.
And then towards the end, it was like, okay, we definitely,
go to the flow.
Yeah. Obviously, we're definitely back into that conversation mode that we usually in. So
yeah, we'll get it. Of course, we're still learning. It's only our first attempt. It's not even online yet.
Yes. All right. Thanks for listening, and bye bye.
See you. Good night.
Good night. It might be in the morning. What the fuck are you talking about?
Good night.
Good night. What the fuck?
Just get out of the car and go to sleep.
1 hour and 35 minutes. Cool.